An analogy I once heard that children are like wet cement always sticks out in my mind. Whatever falls on them makes an impression. And isn't it so true? If we are serious about making Scotland the best place in the world to grow up, and my goodness, I think we are, then we must recognise that getting it right in those initial years of our children's lives is critical. The early years offers us a glorious opportunity to mould and shape a landscape of opportunity for every child in Scotland. And as parents and as stakeholders in society, we can make a wonderful impressions in our nation's cement. And we must do everything we can to ensure that all the impressions we leave are positive, because they will last a lifetime. The earliest years are fundamental in shaping the people we become and how we develop cognitively, socially and emotionally. For that reason, I'm sure every one of us here today knows the Early Years Collaborative is hugely important. So, as Minister for Children and Young People, I'm delighted to join with you today to set out the Scottish Government's priorities for our youngest children. The Scottish Government and COSLA published the Early Years Framework in 2008, setting out a shared commitment to the early years and to the importance of preventative spending. The framework was helpful in spreading the word and in winning hearts and minds, but we recognise the need to pick up the pace of change and move the agenda forward further and faster. A key component in this process has been the establishment of the Early Years Task Force and the Early Years Change Fund. The task force, which brings together politicians, practitioners and experts, is responsible for coordinating policy and ensuring that earlier spending is prioritised by the whole public sector. The task force will always also oversee the deployment of the £270 million Change Fund, and the Change Fund represents a significant shift to preventative spend over the current parliamentary term and reflects a commitment by the Scottish Government, local authorities and NHS Scotland to shift resource to where it makes the most difference by supporting prevention and early intervention. It is the first time we have collectively discussed a financial mechanism for delivering the aspirations of the early years. The total amount of resource in the Change Fund may be relatively modest compared with the £2.7 billion spent by the public sector each year on children in their early years. But it represents a huge opportunity and a good starting point for all partners to consider how we can bring the totality of our resources to the table and to ensure a shift in emphasis to preventative spend. We've already announced a number of investments from the Change Fund. £18 million will go towards creating high-quality, coordinated and accessible family support, informed by our engagement with parents in developing our parenting strategy. £4.5 million over 3 years to provide additional early years support for all looked after 2-year-olds. Crucially, this will include working with their parents wherever possible. £4.5 million to support the Communities and Families Fund administered by the Big Lottery, with their contribution taking the total pot up to £6 million. And this fund will empower local people to make decisions about the services they need. And also £3 million over the next 3 years to enhance play opportunities and facilities for our children, building on some of the fantastic work already underway across Scotland. The fundamental theme for today's event is the critical function that earliest years play in determining children's future outcomes. The significance of the role that parents and carers play cannot be underestimated. They are the most important influence on a child's life, so it is vital they receive the support they need when they need it. Now, speaking as a mother of a very lively wee boy, I quickly learned that children don't come home from hospital with an instruction manual, and like all parents, I'm still learning. But one thing I do know is that the support and the guidance from family, from friends and my health visitors has made my life immeasurably better for me and, importantly, also for my son. Later this week at the Parenting Across Scotland conference, I'm launching the National Parenting Strategy, and that strategy will champion and articulate the importance of parenting, highlighting the importance and positive difference parents can make to a child's development, health and well-being. Now, this isn't about government telling parents how to bring up their children. This is about recognising the challenges involved in parenting and strengthening the practical help and support available to those with a parenting role, making sure it meets a wide range of needs and is accessible to all. It's also about celebrating parents, helping them to do their difficult job well, and reiterating the message that it's not who parents are or what they have that count, it's what they do with their children that matters. And I want parents to feel confident in their abilities to parent, but I also want them to know that help is available when they need it. I want to empower parents to be the best that they can be, and I especially want to create a culture where asking for a wee bit of help is the norm and not viewed as a sign of failure. We need to build on the assets of parents to help them help themselves, and to recognise as a society just how important parents are for our country's well-being. Let me be clear, we are not starting from scratch. Everyone here will be aware of and more than likely playing a fundamental part in delivering excellent child and parent-centred services. Our challenge now is to use the parenting strategy to drive forward improvements in those areas where things can be done better. I would also like to stress the crucial role played by high-quality early learning and childcare, both in terms of outcomes for young children and of supporting parents. For parents, it can provide a route out of worklessness and an opportunity for increased access to a rewarding career. For babies and for young children, there is a wealth of evidence that tells us of the benefits of high-quality early learning experiences for future attainment. The Scottish Government is committed to increasing the range of flexible, affordable, high-quality early learning and childcare provision. We have signalled this commitment through our pledge to deliver a minimum of 600 hours of early learning and childcare for 3 and 4-year-olds and for all looked after twos as part of the Children and Young People Bill. But I'm also aware that there is much more to do in the long term around early learning and childcare for children of all ages. This will help us on our journey towards matching the best service provision for children and families in the world. And that's why a subgroup of the Early Years Task Force has been set up to look at developing long-term vision for family support, family centres and integrated early learning and childcare. And in addition to the provision of early learning and childcare support, the ambitious Children and Young People Bill sets out a range of other important proposals for legislation: provision for children's rights, placing the GIRFEC approach on statute, and improving permanence and planning for our looked after children. The bill has gained significant attention and has captured many people's imaginations. The consultation process has been extremely positive, and it drew to a close just last week, and we're now analysing those responses. Now, I've laid out a broad range of activity that is currently underway, and I want to thank everyone who has contributed to and continues to help with the work that is being done now. But for our hard knowledge is that it will require more still to make the change we want and which our young people deserve. Today, our focus is on the Multi-Agency Early Years Collaborative. This is the first of its kind in the world, and it is hugely exciting to participate in its launch. So to continue this dialogue, you can follow the collaborative on Twitter at EY Collaborative, and to follow the hashtag Best Place to Grow Up. Now, I had the pleasure and privilege of speaking with Bruce Perry from the Child Trauma Academy a couple of weeks ago. He pointed out that small developed nations such as Scotland have a great opportunity to be at the forefront of progressive social policy. And this collaborative will help us and give us that platform to collectively drive the transformational change that we need to see. And as you heard from Jason, this work will be multi-agency, local, quality improvement programme delivered at a national scale, taking forward the vision and the priorities of the Early Years Task Force. It will draw on learning from the highly successful and very impressive Scottish Patient Safety Programme and that the collaborative approach used. Community planning partnerships will play a key delivery role, and the work will complement the health and social care integration agenda. The collaborative will be centred on 3 work streams based on a family-centred life course approach with a focus on pre-birth to 1 month, 1 month to 3 years, and 3 years to 5 years. Now, we've just completed a number of scoping workshops where we were able to engage with experts on these areas of work and to get their views. The constructive feedback from these sessions has given us a lot to think about in terms of shaping the focus of each workstream. But two things were very clear from those sessions. One, we are starting from a good base. And secondly, we have most of the necessary ingredients to deliver the change that we need. This includes the multi-agency partnerships already in existence, the development of the GIRFREC approach, and a range of very successful and effective interventions for children and families. What we need to do now, though, is to focus very specifically on implementation, making sure we are consistent and reliable in the way that we work, and that we have real-time data so we know the progress we are making. Using the improvement methodology we've heard about today from Jason will enable us to do this. So today's conference is effectively the warm-up. The 2-year programme of activity officially starts in January next year with the first learning event. The plan is that teams from community planning partnerships from across Scotland will participate. In Scotland, though, I think it's true to say we tend to hide our light under a bushel. This approach, however, will enable local partners to share learning, successes and challenges with one another. Now, I'm aware that the ambition that we have to make Scotland the best place in the world to grow up is bold and challenging, but we should not shy away from that ambition. The Early Years Collaborative has the potential to make a huge difference to the lives of children across this country. And whenever things get tough, that is what we must hold on to and to remember. Impassioned experts like the likes of Susan Zeedyk, John Carnican, Alan Sinclair, Professor Herkman and many others have given us knowledge and given us evidence of the real and the very urgent need to do better in the early years. So it's up to us as policymakers and decision takers to make this happen. To ensure success and to make this collaborative work, we must think big, make small changes and scale them up fast. We must think creatively about how we plan and deliver services, about how we work together and about how we prioritise our resources. Because at stake is nothing less than the future health and happiness of our children and our nation. Thank you.